You wake up each day with a limited supply of breath, attention, and time. Yet many people give their calm away before the day has even begun. A look, a comment, a tone, a memory. Suddenly, the mind is no longer yours. When peace is cheap to you, it becomes expensive later. When peace is respected, it becomes a quiet strength that follows you everywhere. Peace is not weakness, it is discipline. It is the ability to stand in the middle of noise and remain unmoved. Most people react because they have never trained themselves to pause. They confuse movement with power and volume with truth. But real power is still. Real control is internal. When you allow others to decide how you feel, you hand them authority over your inner world, and most people are not qualified to hold that responsibility. Look closely at who disturbs you. Often it is not wisdom speaking, it is insecurity seeking validation. Not everyone who challenges you deserves access to your emotions. Not everyone who provokes you deserves a response. Silence is not avoidance, it is selection. You are choosing what deserves your energy and what does not. Peace is not something that arrives when life becomes easy. It is not a reward for having fewer problems or better people around you. Peace is built through repetition. It is shaped by what you choose every single day, especially when nothing goes your way. If peace were a mood, it would disappear the moment pressure appears. That is why most people lose it so quickly. They depend on circumstances to protect their calm instead of training themselves to generate it. A daily practice means you work on your inner state even when there is no crisis. Just like the body does not become strong on the day of the fight, the mind does not become calm on the day of chaos. It is trained in ordinary moments, in how you breathe when you wake up, in how you respond to small frustrations, in how you speak to yourself when things do not match your expectations. These moments look insignificant, but they are the foundation. Ignore them and peace will always feel temporary. Most people say they want peace, but they feed their mind with noise. Endless opinions, constant comparison, unnecessary arguments, and emotional clutter. Then they wonder why their inner world feels restless. What you consume mentally matters as much as what you consume physically. A daily practice means you become selective. You observe what enters your mind and what you allow to stay. You stop entertaining thoughts that weaken you, not because they are dramatic, but because they are useless. Peace also requires structure. Without structure, the mind becomes reactive. It chases stimulation and avoids discomfort. A calm mind is not lazy. It is disciplined. It knows when to rest and when to focus. It does not jump at every trigger. It creates space between stimulus and response. That space is built through repetition, through choosing patience when impatience feels easier, through choosing silence when proving a point feels tempting. There will be days when you fail, days when anger rises faster than awareness. This does not mean the practice is broken. It means the practice is needed. Peace is not about perfection. It is about consistency. You return to center again and again. Each return strengthens the habit. Over time, what once required effort becomes natural. Calm stops being forced and starts being familiar. A daily practice also means accepting discomfort without resistance. Many people mistake peace for comfort. They avoid difficult conversations, hard work, and inner confrontation. But avoidance creates tension, not peace. Real calm comes from facing what needs to be faced without emotional chaos. You do what is necessary without adding unnecessary drama. You act without letting fear or pride control the outcome. Peace is built when you stop arguing with reality. Resistance drains energy. Acceptance sharpens focus. This does not mean you approve of everything that happens. It means you stop wasting energy fighting what already is. You deal with facts, not fantasies. This clarity brings calm. Calm brings better decisions. Better decisions create a more stable life. When peace becomes a daily practice, you stop outsourcing your emotional state. Other people no longer decide whether your day is good or bad. Their words lose the power to shake you. Their behavior becomes information, not a command. You respond with awareness instead of instinct. This is not emotional numbness. It is emotional maturity. Over time, you will notice a shift. Situations that once triggered you no longer do. Not because you suppress emotion, but because you understand it. You see patterns clearly. You recognize when something deserves attention and when it deserves distance. Your energy becomes refined. You move with intention instead of impulse. This is how peace becomes reliable. Not dependent on silence or approval or perfect conditions. It becomes something you carry, something you protect, something you return to. And once peace is practiced daily, it stops being fragile and starts becoming unshakable. Reaction is easy. It requires no skill, no awareness, and no strength. It is the default setting of an untrained mind. Something happens and the body moves, the mouth speaks, the emotion takes over. In that moment, you feel alive, you feel justified, you feel powerful. But that feeling is borrowed. It fades quickly and leaves you weaker than before. Every reaction is a transfer of power from you to the trigger. When you react, you surrender control. You allow external events, people, or words to decide your internal state. Your peace is no longer yours. It is negotiated by circumstances. This is why reactive people feel exhausted. They are constantly responding to life instead of directing it. Their energy is scattered across arguments, explanations, and emotional turbulence that leads nowhere. Restraint is often misunderstood. People think it means suppression, fear, or weakness. In reality, restraint is precision. It is the ability to feel emotion fully without letting it dictate behavior. Anger can rise and still the body remains steady. Disrespect can appear and still the tongue remains calm. This is not avoidance. This is command. Restraint creates space. In that space, awareness appears. You see the situation clearly instead of through emotional distortion. You notice motives, patterns, and consequences. Reaction narrows vision. Restraint widens it. With a wider view, you choose responses that serve you instead of satisfying impulse. Most people want the satisfaction of immediate expression. They want to be heard, validated, and proven right. But immediate expression often creates long-term damage. Words spoken in heat cannot be retrieved. Actions taken in anger echo far longer than the moment that created them. Restraint protects you from yourself. Power is quiet. It does not announce itself. A calm presence in a chaotic room is more commanding than raised voices. People sense stability. They feel it. When you do not react, you disrupt the expectation. Others may provoke but receive nothing. This often unsettles them because they lose influence. They realize they cannot control you through emotion. Restraint also builds self-respect. Each time you choose not to react, you reinforce trust in yourself. You prove that you are not a slave to impulse. Over time, this trust becomes confidence. You know that no matter what happens, you can handle it without losing your center. This does not mean you never act. It means you act deliberately. You speak when words are useful. You move when movement is necessary. You confront when clarity is required. The difference is timing and intention. Action guided by awareness carries weight. Reaction driven by emotion carries regret. Training restraint requires practice. You start with small moments. A comment that irritates you, a delay that tests patience, a misunderstanding that invites defense. Instead of immediate response, you pause, you breathe, you observe the urge to react without obeying it. At first, this feels uncomfortable. The mind demands release. But if you stay with the discomfort, it passes. And when it passes, you remain intact. Over time, the pause becomes natural. You are no longer pulled by every hook. Triggers lose their grip. This is freedom, not freedom from emotion, but freedom from being controlled by it. When you stop reacting, you reclaim your energy. That energy can be used to build focus, discipline, and purpose. Life becomes simpler, quieter, clearer. You stop fighting unnecessary battles. You conserve strength for what truly matters. Restraint is not about winning arguments. It is about winning yourself back. And when restraint becomes your habit, peace stops being something others can take from you. Not every voice deserves an answer, and this truth alone can save years of wasted energy. Most people speak not to understand but to unload. They speak from habit, from emotion, from insecurity, from noise inside their own mind. When you respond to every voice, you invite their chaos into your inner space. You confuse attention with obligation and reaction with respect. But attention is valuable and silence is a choice. Many people feel pressure to respond because they fear misunderstanding. They fear being seen as weak, rude, or wrong. So they explain themselves again and again, hoping to be accepted. But explanation does not bring peace when the listener is not listening. Some people do not want clarity. They want control. And the moment you start explaining, you give them leverage. A trained mind knows the difference between a question and a provocation. A sincere question seeks clarity. A provocation seeks reaction. When you answer provocation, you reward it. You teach others how to access your emotions. You show them the buttons and they will press them again. Silence removes the reward. Without reaction, provocation dies. Choosing not to answer is not avoidance. It is discernment. You are not running away. You are standing still while chaos moves around you. This requires confidence. Weakness feels the need to prove itself. Strength does not. Strength knows that value does not decrease because it is not defended loudly. There is also timing. Some truths lose power when spoken too early. Some conversations only make sense when the other person is ready. Wisdom knows when to wait. A calm mind does not rush to be understood. It understands itself first. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. People project their fears onto others. They speak from wounds they have not healed. If you take their words personally, you carry burdens that were never yours. Silence allows you to observe without absorbing. You hear, but you do not internalize. Many arguments continue only because both sides want the last word. The need to win keeps the conflict alive. Letting go feels uncomfortable at first. The ego resists. It wants closure, validation, dominance. But peace does not require the last word. It requires the last reaction. Silence also reveals truth. When you stop responding, people reveal their intentions. Some will escalate. Some will retreat. Some will expose themselves through their persistence. This information is valuable. It shows you who deserves access and who does not. Energy is limited. Every response costs something. When you respond to everything, you have nothing left for what matters. Your purpose suffers. Your focus weakens. Your peace becomes fragmented. Selecting which voices to engage with is an act of self-respect. This does not mean you become cold or distant. It means you become intentional. You speak with those who are willing to meet you in clarity. You disengage from those committed to confusion. You stop arguing with those who thrive on conflict. You stop correcting those who enjoy misunderstanding you. A calm presence does not need constant explanation. It is felt. When your actions are consistent, your silence speaks louder than words. Over time, people adjust. Some will respect your boundaries. Others will remove themselves. Both outcomes serve your peace. Silence trains patience. Patience sharpens awareness. Awareness strengthens control. This is the path of inner authority. You no longer chase approval or defend your worth. You stand rooted. You allow noise to pass without attachment. When you stop answering every voice, you start hearing your own. Your intuition becomes clearer. Your direction becomes steady. Your peace becomes protected. And that is the only voice that truly deserves your attention. Stillness is not empty. It is not passive, and it is not weakness. Stillness is where perception becomes sharp. When the body is calm and the breath is steady, the mind stops racing ahead of itself. In that quiet space, you begin to see clearly, not what you want to see and not what fear shows you, but what actually is. Most mistakes are not made because of lack of intelligence. They are made because of noise. Too many thoughts, too many opinions, too much urgency. When the mind is crowded, judgment becomes blurred. You react to fragments instead of understanding the whole. Stillness clears the field. It removes excess and leaves only what matters. A restless mind rushes toward conclusions. It fills gaps with assumptions. It creates stories that feel real but are not. Stillness slows this process. It gives the mind time to verify, time to observe patterns instead of isolated events. This is why calm people make fewer mistakes. They are not smarter, they are clearer. Stillness also reveals motives. When emotions settle, you can see why you want something or why you want to avoid it. Many decisions are driven by fear disguised as logic or desire disguised as necessity. Stillness exposes these disguises. You recognize when the ego wants validation and when intuition calls for restraint. In moments of conflict, stillness becomes a weapon. While others escalate, you observe. While others speak, you listen. This does not mean you agree. It means you gather information. Information is power. The one who sees more controls more. Loudness gives the illusion of strength. Awareness gives real advantage. Stillness strengthens timing. Knowing what to do is only half of wisdom. Knowing when to do it is the other half. Acting too early can be as damaging as acting too late. A still mind senses the right moment. It waits without impatience and moves without hesitation. This precision is only possible when the mind is not cluttered. Many people fear stillness because it confronts them with themselves. In silence, distractions disappear. Unresolved thoughts surface. This discomfort pushes people back into noise. But those who stay discover something important. Stillness is not the absence of activity. It is the alignment of activity. When the inner world is ordered, the outer actions become effective. Training stillness is a daily discipline. It begins with small pauses, a conscious breath before speaking, a moment of silence before responding, sitting without stimulation even for a few minutes. At first, the mind resists. It searches for distraction. But with patience, it settles. And when it settles, clarity follows. Stillness also teaches restraint without force. You stop fighting thoughts. You observe them. Thoughts lose power when they are seen clearly. Emotions pass when they are not fed. This observation sharpens judgment. You learn which impulses deserve action and which deserve distance. In leadership, in conflict, in personal decisions, stillness creates authority. People trust those who are not rushed. They sense stability. They feel safety. A still presence anchors a room. This influence does not come from words. It comes from inner order. Over time, stillness becomes a refuge, not a place you escape to, but a state you carry. Chaos may surround you, but it does not enter easily. Your decisions become consistent. Your actions become measured. Your energy stops leaking through unnecessary reactions. Stillness sharpens judgment because it removes distortion. And with clear judgment, peace becomes durable, not fragile. Self-mastery begins with emotional control because emotion is the first gate. If that gate is unguarded, everything else collapses. Discipline, focus, patience, clarity. All of it depends on how well you manage what rises inside you. Most people try to control the world before they can control a single reaction. This is why they feel powerless. The inner world is chaotic, so the outer world feels overwhelming. Emotions are not the enemy, they are signals. But signals are meant to be read, not obeyed blindly. When anger appears, it points to a boundary. When fear appears, it points to uncertainty. When desire appears, it points to attachment. If you act immediately, you confuse signal with command. Emotional control is the ability to pause long enough to understand what the signal is asking for. Without emotional control, every situation becomes personal. A comment becomes an attack. A delay becomes disrespect. A disagreement becomes rejection. This constant personalization drains energy and distorts perception. Control creates distance. Distance creates objectivity. Objectivity creates wise action. Self-mastery is built in moments when no one is watching. When you choose not to speak even though you could. When you choose not to react even though you feel justified. When you choose patience over ego. These moments seem small, but they shape your character. They train the nervous system to remain stable under pressure. Many people mistake emotional expression for honesty. They believe saying everything they feel is authenticity. But unfiltered expression is not truth, it is impulse. Truth requires clarity. Clarity requires control. A mastered person can feel deeply and still choose words carefully. This makes communication powerful instead of destructive. Emotional control also protects relationships. Most damage in relationships is not caused by intention, but by uncontrolled reactions. Words spoken without awareness create wounds that logic cannot heal. Control prevents unnecessary harm. It allows you to address issues without poisoning the connection. Control is not suppression. Suppression stores emotion until it leaks out sideways. Control processes emotion. It allows it to rise, be felt, and then released without harm. This requires patience and honesty with oneself. You acknowledge what you feel without becoming it. Training emotional control begins with awareness of the body. Emotions live in the body before they become thoughts. Tightness in the chest, shallow breath, clenched jaw. These are early warnings. When you notice them early, you regain choice. You breathe, you ground yourself. You slow down the reaction before it becomes action. Over time, emotional storms become shorter. Triggers lose intensity. You recover faster. This is progress. Not the absence of emotion, but faster return to balance. A mastered person does not avoid emotion, they navigate it. As emotional control strengthens, identity stabilizes. You no longer define yourself by moods or reactions. You know who you are regardless of how you feel. This stability creates confidence. You trust yourself in difficult situations. You know you will not betray your values for momentary relief. Self-mastery is quiet. It does not seek applause. It shows in consistency, in how you handle pressure, in how you treat others when you could dominate, in how you choose peace without weakness. When emotional control becomes your foundation, peace stops being accidental. It becomes intentional. And that is where true self-mastery begins. Peace is not something you wait for, and it is not something others give you. It is something you build, protect, and carry through discipline, awareness, and restraint. When you stop reacting to every voice, when you choose stillness over noise and mastery over impulse, you take your power back. Life will continue to test you, but it will no longer control you. Guard your peace carefully, because once you know its value, you will never hand it to those who do not. Good luck on your journey of self-mastery and inner strength. Thank you for listening and for choosing growth over chaos.